Hello, and welcome, travelers, to Shadows of Moonlight. I'm Alara Blackhaven, your guide through the fog. If you love horror that creeps in slow and doesn't let go, you're in the right place. Shall we begin? Here is Marais de Lune, Part 1. The boy the fog brought home. In Marais de Lune, the fog don't just roll in, it chooses where to sit. Tonight, it chose the road. The fog over the bayou hung low and heavy, thick as cold gravy, spilling over the ditches and crawling between the cypress knees. It swallowed the trees, the power lines, the old fence posts sunk crooked in the mud. Out of that white mess, a lone figure walked. Elias Thibodeau come out that mist, like the night done spit him back out. Boots muddy, pack light, shoulders hunch against a damp that already soaked clean through his shirt. His eyes, old whiskey amber, with tired dark rings around them, flicked from one shadow to the next. He didn't know why the road had bent him this way. He never did. He just kept following that pull in his chest, that restless, itchy feeling that never let him stay nowhere too long. Except tonight the pull felt different, stronger, like the road wasn't just leading him somewhere new. It was dragging him back to somewhere he'd already been. He passed under a crooked oak that clawed at the sky like a black hand. A rusted road sign leaned beside it, half swallowed by vines. He had to wipe the fog beads off the metal to read the name. Marais de Lune. The letter swam for a second. Pain spiked behind his eyes. Sharp, bright, gone. When he blinked, his reflection flickered on the wet metal, his own face gaunt and road worn. And for just a heartbeat, something else layered over it. A shadow with longer teeth, a smear of color along its jaw, like oil on water, green, violet, gone. Elias jerked back, breath catching. The fog swallowed the sign again, like it had never shown him a thing. Get a grip, he muttered. His voice sounded too loud and all that quiet. Just another town, that's all. Folks in a place like this, though, they know when a stranger crosses that line. They feel it in bad knees and bad dreams, in the way the crickets cut off mid-song. So when Elias stepped over that invisible edge and onto the main street of Marais de Lune, curtains twitched, porch lights snapped on one by one, little yellow eyes blinking open in the fog. Somewhere out in that cypress and shadow, a low mournful howl rolled across the water, not close, but not far, just listening. Ain't much of a welcome, he said under his breath. The town didn't answer, but he could feel it, not in sound, in weight, in the way the air pressed down on his shoulders, in the prickles sitting at the base of his neck, like the buildings themselves were holding their breath, leaning in to get a good old look. Up ahead, a man sat on a sagging porch in a wooden rocking chair, pipe smoke curling, sweet and bitter in the damp air. The chair creaked. then went still. The man stopped rocking and stared at Elias. His eyes caught the porch light. Not brown, no, not hazel, gold. Bright, unnatural, shimmery gold. Like two coins held up to the sun. Or like something had poured melted metal right into his skull and let it just sit there. Elias's step stuttered. He glanced away, then back, just to make sure he wasn't seeing things. Still gold, still staring. He'd never seen this man a day in his life. That was for sure. But somewhere deep down in his chest, in that hollow place where the pool lived, something tightened, familiar and sharp as a half forgotten name. He kept walking. Another house, another porch, another man, younger, lean, a beer bottle sweating in his hand, same gold eyes tracking him. Then another, an old man with a cane, a boy barely grown, setups forgotten mid-rep on the front steps, all quiet, all watching. They didn't wave, they didn't nod, they just followed Elias Thibodeau with their gold gleaming eyes, like they had been expecting him and weren't quite sure yet if they were glad he'd come. The farther Elias walked, the quieter Marais de Lune got. No dogs barking, no radios humming through thin walls, not even the whine of a mosquito near his ear. And still, he could feel the town around him, not in noise but in pressure, in the way each porch board and brick felt like it was leaning in closer, listening, trying to remember him. At the end of the road, the fog thinned, just enough to show an old rickety house sagging under its own memories, paint peeled in long pale curls, porch boards warped and gray as driftwood. A single yellow bulb burned over the door, throwing a tired circle of light onto the steps. A woman sat there in a rocking chair, small but straight back, shawl wrapped tight around narrow shoulders. Her hair fell long and silver down her chest, catching the porch light like threads of moon. She'd been rocking slow, but the moment Elias stepped onto that little ring of light, the chair stopped. She looked him over from muddy boots to road-tired eyes. For a breath, her gaze seemed to shine, too bright, reflecting the bulb over her head. Not gold like the porchman, no, not quite, more like polished silver, old and sharp. A faint knowing smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. "Mm-hmm," she said, voice rough like gravel and sweet like syrup. "Boy, you done found your way home at last." The word hit him low and hard. Home? Elias had slept in bus stations, in patched up motels, in cabs of 18-wheelers, drifting from town to town, with nothing but the clothes on his back and that restless thing in his chest for company. Home was a word other folks used, folks with roots, folks who stayed. "You got the wrong man," he started. But the lie tasted thin the second it left his tongue. The road behind him, the fog, the gold-eyed men on their porches, all of it pressed in at once, heavy as a hand between his shoulder blades, nudging him forward. Elias didn't know this woman. He was sure of that. But somewhere deep down, in that place older than his own memories, something inside him whispered back, soft and certain as a prayer, "Grandmère,